this is James here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting April the 22nd, 2019. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this week's video reading. I am so happy to have you here. Before getting into this week's reading though, I want to take a moment to acknowledge my new subscribers. So if you recently subscribed to the channel, I want to officially welcome you and saying thank you for taking that step to subscribe. It means the world to me that you would invite me into your world in that way. So thank you. But as I always say, if you're a long-term viewer or a subscriber, thank you so much for creating time and space for me and my content. I can never do what I do on this side of the camera without any of you on the other side watching and tuning in. So thank you one and all for your continued support, your continued encouragement of the work that I am producing for this channel. Thank you. And as I'm saying thanks, I'm also aware that a number of you, in terms of new subscribers, were encouraged to subscribe based on one of my video series, and that is on the meanings that I use and work with when I throw out Lenormand cards. So based on that, I am working with Lenormand this week. And specifically, to celebrate the fact that we are all experiencing a full moon, I'm filming this on the day of the full moon. So to celebrate that, I wanted to work with the Mystical Lenormand, so that is the deck that's going to be assisting me for this week. The Mystical Lenormand is by Regula Elizabeth Fiechter. The artwork is by Trösch, and it is published by AGM. So now that I've set things up, let's now move to the table and take a closer look at the cards that are going to be making up this week's video reading. And here we are with the cards on the table, and I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the deck. And as I do, I'm focusing on my usual intention for these weekly general readings, and that is I'm asking for the information, for the insights, for the guidance that will be helpful and beneficial as we move through the experiences of the upcoming week. So I'm feeling one more time will be good. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. I'm going to fan the cards out. And at this point, I usually do a line of 5, but I'm wanting to work with a pyramid spread that's going to consist of 6 cards. So for this week, I'm going to be pulling 6 cards. So I have 1, 2, 3 is over here, 4, and I'm looking for 2 more, 5, final card, 6. So those are the 6 cards. Now I'm going to take the remainder of the deck up. Move that to one side. Alright, so now I have my 6 cards. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count back. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, and I do that because I always like to start with the card I pulled first. So now the way the spread gets laid out is that card number 1 is the issue card. So that goes to the top. That's the top of our pyramid. And then cards 2 and 3 go on each side of card 1, right below it, like so. So 2 and 3. And these represent factors that are playing a part in whatever the issue is. Right? So there we have the first 3 cards. And then the final 3 cards get placed on the bottom of the pyramid, like so. And they represent how this situation or the issue is going to play itself out possibly, right? So again, we have card 1, the issue, cards 2 and 3, factors that are contributing to the issue, and then the final 3 cards talk about how the issue gets to play itself out, right? Okay, so now that the cards are laid out, let's look at them, starting with the issue card. So here for the issue, we have dog. So dog is a card for me that can represent a friend. it could represent a companion, it could represent a partner. So the issue at hand could be either a particular friend, partner, or companion, or the overall general theme of friendship, companionship, and partnership. For me, dog can represent loyalty, so that may be the issue. So that could be the loyalty of a friend, the loyalty of a partner, loyalty of a companion. It could also represent faith and trust, so along with loyalty, those same things. So it could just be a matter of loyalty, a matter of faith, a matter of trust. For me, dog can also represent help and support and advice. So it's very interesting that one of my intentions when I do these weekly general readings is I'm asking for advice. So here we may need to factor into how the cards are offering advice this week, playing on the idea that dog can represent an advisor and advice, right? So again, dog represents friendship, partnership, companionship. It could represent faith, trust, loyalty, help, support, and advice. So that would be the issue at hand. So now let's see what the next cards have to say about maybe factors that are playing a role or a part into whatever dog is talking about. Now, dog being a card that can represent different things. So it could be, for some of us, it may be about a friend. For some of us, it may be about loyalty. For some of us, it may be about faith or trust or help or support, right? We're all having different experiences to some degree. And so different aspects of a card may resonate more with you than others, right? So whatever you're feeling that dog represents for you, go with that. So now hearing, or taking a look at, I should say, the next card. Okay, so here we have Moon, right? So Moon is a card for me that can represent honor, right? So that's one of my keywords for it. So if we're talking about things like faith and trust and loyalty, it's a matter of those aspects of dog, whether it's a friend or partner or companion, those things being honored, right? Because for me, this represents honor. This could also represent a reputation, right? Moon is about reputation, right? So it could be a matter of what the person, if it's a friend, partner, or companion by dog, what is the person known for? What do they have a reputation for? Or that somebody's reputation may be called into question, right? Because again, Moon can represent reputation. It's also about something that needs to be recognized. So it could be in the more positive sense that there's something going on with a friend, a partner, or companion that we want to recognize, right? This card can represent, again, with honor and recognition. So somebody may be awarded something or, given some kind of recognition. Now, recognition means different things to different people, right? Depending on the context, the situation, or the circumstance. So it could just be a matter of, if we're talking about a friend, a partner, or companion, what is it that we may want to do to honor that person, right? To recognize that person, especially if maybe they've been helpful and supportive, or if they've been loyal and trusting or trustworthy, right? We want to celebrate that. We want to honor that. How can we honor that in those people this week, right? Or if we are the dog, if we have been faithful, if we have been loyal, if we have been supportive, right? How can that be honored by other people around us? Right? Now, Moon can also represent career. So for some people, because dog for me can represent a consultant, I talked about the idea it could represent an advisor, right? So if somebody is into consulting or doing something having to do with advice or advising or being an advisor, there may be something here around your career that may be playing a role into that. You may be receiving some sort of honor, some sort of distinction, some sort of recognition, based on your reputation. And reputation could be like, again, you're a loyal person, you're a trusting person, you've been very helpful, right, in your role as an advisor or a consultant, right? So I'm seeing all of those things with Moon. Now, another thing with Moon is that this card can represent emotional satisfaction. So if we're talking about maybe just overall the idea of friendship, partnership, companionship, then it could just be, you know, recognizing the ways in which our friendships, our companionships, our partnerships are emotionally satisfying, right? So that is what I have to say about moon. So now moon is one half of the second tier of this pyramid. So let's take a look at the other card. And here we have the coffin card, right? So coffin, or in this particular case, because of the imagery, it's called their sarcophagus, right? Because of the Egyptian vibe. But this is known as the coffin card. So coffin can represent something in which there is some sort of closure, something's coming to an end, something's being completed, something's being finalized, right? So for someone, if we're talking about one's loyalty, you know, going with the idea here that dog can represent loyalty, you know, or faith, or, you know, something having to do with being a consultant or advisor, and moon being career, then it could just represent one's career is coming to an end, and maybe there was a role in which they were playing a consultant or being an advisor, right? And but there's something about that that may be coming to an end, right? And then there may be some sort of honor or some sort of recognition for their service, right? So I'm seeing that now. Here we have the possibility, if we pair, for a moment, if we pair moon and coffin, then here we have career comes to an end, right? Or, you know, career reaches its conclusion. But it can also represent that if we're talking about honor and recognition, then here we have a limitation or restriction of that. Because coffin for me can represent something that's limited or restricted, right? So it could just be a matter of, in terms of a friendship, a partnership, or a companionship, we may need to focus on honoring our partner more because we haven't been doing that limitation and restriction, right? So it could just be a matter of doing that. For me, it represents, again, this idea that maybe if we're talking about a career, somebody's career is changing or coming to an end to some degree, especially if they were a consultant or advisor. But it could also be, again, this idea about honor and recognition is limited or restricted, right? So I'm seeing that with moon and coffin. And so now let's take a look at the cards that are forming the bottom tier of the pyramid, because they'll tell us possibly how this situation could play itself out. Starting with the card on the left, we have, so here we have Stork. So Stork is a card that represents change, improvement. So there's something about, if we go with the idea where I talked about someone's career is coming to an end, this card would be that it's about change, right? Something's changing with that, right? If we're talking about the limitation and restriction of honor and recognition and emotional satisfaction within a friendship, partnership, or companionship, then Stork is saying it's about, it needs to change or it needs to improve. There's some sort of change or improvement that needs to take place, right? Stork talks about changing something for the better, right? So there is that. Now, another scenario that I'm getting, if we're talking about the idea about a friendship or a partnership, dog, right? And then moon and coffin could suggest that there's some sort of recognition that things need to come to an end, or recognition that it's over, or recognition that it's not going anywhere, something about that. And with that, then this card could be about, that's the change, right, that needs to take place. And then as a result of that, this card can also be about moving on, right? So it could be somebody's moving on from their career, maybe changing careers, right? And so their current thing that they've been working on is changing. Or if they've been a consultant or an advisor all this time, maybe that's where the change is. They're changing industries, they're changing positions, they're doing something totally different. But Stork would suggest that they're moving on to some degree, right? So again, Stork is about change, improvement, moving on. Now, I will say this. In this particular deck, there's no playing card inserts, but I do know that Stork for me is the Queen of Hearts, so there may be a woman who's playing a role in this, right? So Dog would be about, friendship, partnership, companionship. This card being a face card could be that there's a woman who's involved in that, right? The middle card. Here we have the Anchor. So now Anchor for me could represent long-term work, right? So again, we have the idea here that there may be some sort of change or improvement, Stork, with somebody's long-term work, right? Now, the interesting thing here that these cards form a dichotomy, right? This card is about change, improvement, and moving on, Stork. But this card is also about staying put because Anchor keeps things in place. So somebody may be faced with this idea of like, should I stay or should I go? If we're talking about a particular partnership or companionship, then it could be a matter of saying, do I stay or do I go? Right? I'm hearing that should I stay, should I go question in my head being repeated. So for some people, it's a matter of maybe recognizing that something isn't going anywhere or something's not working or there's some sort of limitation and restriction, coffin. And as a result of that, we want to make some changes or improvements, make it better, Stork. So one of those changes could be moving on, but then there's a question of do I want to move on or do I want to stay, right? Because another aspect of Anchor is that being persistent and persevering through a situation. So somebody doing some work and working hard, because this heart can represent hard work, doing some hard work to make the situation work or to make it better. Like if we're going to work on changing something, improving something, then the next card here is saying be mindful that it may be hard work, and are you willing to stick with it, right? Are you willing to put in the energy and the effort? That would be being persistent and persevering. And then this card would be saying too, like it may seem that, it may look like recognition. We may be recognizing that there's limitation and restriction, or seeing that it's not going anywhere, or it seems like that, or it feels like it's not going anywhere. And then this card would say, but don't lose hope, because this card is known as hope. The Anchor here symbolizes hope as well, right? So I'm seeing that as a possibility here with Anchor. So again, Anchor could represent work, and then we have like long-term work and career, right? These two cards. And so that would make sense again with this idea that maybe somebody's moving on from that, somebody's making some changes, changing something that they've been doing in terms of long-term work, you know? And so here we have hope, and here with the dog being about being faith and faithfulness. So we have hope and faith that are playing a part into that. And again, if somebody's making some kind of career change, here we have Moon and Stork, a career that's changing. If somebody's doing that, it's because on some level they want some more emotional satisfaction with what they're doing, right? Maybe the emotional satisfaction with the work that they've been doing is gone. And so they're making some changes to kind of bring back that sense of emotional satisfaction. That would be Moon, right? And it could also be, too, if we go with the idea that dog represents help and support. If somebody wants to make some sort of career changes, they may need help and support in doing that. And if that's the case, if we're seeking help and support, no matter what the situation is, if we're seeking help and support, then we have to seek the help and support from people that we trust. Trust is going to be important. People that we have faith in and who have faith in us. Right? So I'm seeing that here with these two cards. And then the last card, here we have, here we have a nice card to end things on. So here we have Bouquet. So Bouquet is a card that can represent something that comes as a surprise, right? So here we have a surprise, we have a gift, we have an invitation. Those are my keywords for Bouquet. But also something that's pleasant, something that's beautiful, something that's wonderful. And this is one of the happiness cards in the deck. So this is about happiness, right? Now, one of my personal meanings for the bouquet card, playing on the idea that it's a floral arrangement, that this card can be about making arrangements. So, if there are some changes, Stork, some things that we want to improve on, and if we work at it and we work hard at it, then this card is saying it's going to be pleasant, it's going to be wonderful on the other side of it, right? But this card's about hard work, right? Remember, this is work. And this is about manual labor, right? So if it's not manual labor in the physical sense and the literal sense, then this is just saying we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and really work hard at changing the situation, right? Because the two birds, we have a stork and a pelican on this card, and they are facing each other, right? So it's like the change and improvement may not be an easy process. It's about like rolling up our sleeves. I'm seeing like getting our hands dirty, putting some effort, elbow grease into the situation. Those are all either literal or metaphorical, right? But if we do that, then this card is about making the arrangements, right? Doing the work, making the arrangements to make it happen, right? And then as a result of that, we have a wonderful, maybe even surprising way that the situation gets resolved, right? So I'm seeing that with bouquet at the end. It's making me feel like at the result here is about gaining some kind of appreciation. I talked here with Moon about emotional satisfaction. Here, this card is about appreciation. This for me can represent our talents being appreciated. For me, this is a talent card because a bouquet can represent all forms of creativity, right? So it could just be saying too, like we may have to apply a creative approach to the situation, right? And if that's the case, then it's about using our talents and having our talents appreciated, right? So if a person is making a career change, let's say, with the majority of these cards, if it's talking about a career change, then it's about moving into a space in which we gain some emotional satisfaction because this is playing a part in that, right? Emotional satisfaction, but also having our talents being appreciated. We want some kind of reward, right? Bouquet can represent, if we talk about this idea, like I see this when, like with beauty pageants, for example, right? The winner gets the bouquet of flowers, right? So that's usually symbolic of an award or a reward. And both of these cards would suggest that as well. Both these cards can suggest some kind of reward. So it's about making something or putting the effort into something and it becomes rewarding as a result of the effort that we put into it. Right? Now, I talked about over here with the stork card that this is the Queen of Hearts. The playing card insert, it's usually the Queen of Hearts. Here we have the Queen of Spades. So we have something involving two queens here. So there may be something involving two women in particular. So it could be a friendship, a partnership, companionship between two women in particular, right? That is being called into question, where we have the honor and the recognition or the reputation, but also too about appreciation as well. So it could be centering on a friendship or a partnership between two women in particular because of these two cards, right? But I'm thinking just generally overall, this could just be a matter of whatever it is that we are experiencing. It may be a matter of wanting to make some positive changes or improvements into the situation, understanding that there's going to be a need for hard work, perseverance, and if we're willing to put in the time and the effort, then this card could suggest on the other side of that, it's a matter of having a surprisingly wonderful, beautiful outcome, right? So then the last thing we can do is we can take a look at cards 1 and 5 and read these as a pair. So here we have dog and anchor. So here we have maybe, a friendship in which we have, that's long term, because sometimes this can represent something long term. So this could be a long term friendship, right? So if we go with the idea that we're talking about a situation with two women, this could be that they've been friends for a long time. right? And something has happened with the emotional satisfaction in the relationship, and they are taking the steps or considering taking the steps to work on making things better, right? So that is one way I'm looking at this as friendship, partnership, companionship that's been long term, right? But I like seeing bouquet here at the end. But these three cards at the bottom are telling me this is the foundation. So if we're going to make some changes, this is the foundation. Change, improvement, hard work, being persistent, persevering, having a sense of hope, and being willing to be creative, being appreciative, and seeing the gift in the other person, right? If we're talking about a friendship, partnership, companionship, this is about gifts. So about being willing to see the other person as a gift, see the beauty of the friendship, partnership, companionship. If I pair dog and bouquet, this is the friendship, partnership, companionship, beauty. So the beauty of that, right? And understanding that every person has a gift, right? Every person can be a gift, right? If we're willing to see them in that light, right? Going back to the moon. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end this week's Oracle Outlook. I'm James Himm Mitchell, and as I wrap up, I'd like to thank you for sharing space here with me for this week's reading, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next video reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day, and I'm hoping that you have a wonderful week. Take care.